Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. Before we get started with today's show, I want to tell you about our friends over at BetUS. We have a great deal set up for you guys. All you got to do is a two-step process. You use the link down below, chatsports.com/bet. You see it right over there? There it is. Yep. And use the promo code Browns125, and they're going to give you a 125% deposit bonus. Go check them out over at chatsports.com/bet. Promo code Browns125. Browns and Falcons preview. It's almost time for the third and final week of the preseason, and the Cleveland Browns will take on the guys from hot Atlanta Falcons. That's what they say down there. Well, they claim not to say it, but let's check out the matchup here. Browns 5-point favorites against the Atlanta Falcons. It is in ATL against the Atlanta Falcons. Over-under set at 36, and before we really get started, let's play a quick game here. I want you guys to predict the score for me. If you've got the Browns winning, which you better, and I'll tell you why in a moment, go ahead, hop down in the comments. Let me know by how much. If you got the Falcons winning, beat it. No chance Atlanta's going to win in front of their home fans for this Week 3 preseason game. Well, maybe. It's the preseason. You never know. But talking about this preseason, one thing I really want to touch on before we get started with today's show, a little impromptu here, so I'm sorry for producer Jeremy right now, but OBJ was back at practice today going full-on 11-on-11. It was individual stuff, then 7-on-7. He was there 11-on-11, and he was torching people. So I just wanted to get you guys that information because that just came across my Twitter feed, so really exciting stuff. But back to the Browns preseason here. You look at what they've done so far. They're 2-0, okay? They knocked off the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then they went over to back home, played the Giants in a nail-biting game. That was really exciting. But the Falcons this week, and it looks like a handful of starters may be playing. Did not see any of Baker Mayfield in the first 2 weeks. There's only three preseason games this year, not 4. And usually when there's 4, teams make Week 3 their dress rehearsal, so you see more of the starters. This year it's a little different. Some teams did that for Week 2. Looks like the Browns may do that for Week 3 because we didn't see a handful of those starters in Week 2, but we'll wait and see. Now, before we get into today's show, reminder, BetUS. Go ahead, use that promo code Browns125 after you go to chatsports.com/bet. 125% deposit bonus coming your way. What does that mean in English? You put $100 in, 125% deposit bonus. You got $225 to splurge on the Browns and the Falcons game, or you can save it for the regular season. Don't worry, I don't run your bank account, whatever you want to do. But if you did want to spend it on this Week 3 preseason matchup, Browns 5-point favorites, over-under at 36. If Baker Mayfield starts and Matt Ryan doesn't, that -5 looks pretty enticing, and the unders are hitting at an astronomical rate so far in the preseason. So just some food for thought. But let's keep an eye on who you're going to keep an eye on for that Browns-Falcons Week 3 matchup. We got some position groups to watch for, some specific players, whole preview to get you set for the third and final preseason game. Let's start it off with the guys at the back. How about the safeties? This has been a safety room that's been somewhat pretty banged up throughout training camp. A lot of the injuries were really just being overly cautious, didn't want to risk anything here. But the Browns have acquired some great pieces through free agency. Talking about John Johnson, Troy Hill, Ronnie Harrison. These are new faces that come into an already pretty well-established secondary for the Cleveland Browns. Denzel Ward, he's a lock over at CB1. Greedy Williams, his backup is a first-round pick in Greg Newsome. And then Grant Delpit, the second-round pick from last year. Just a lot of talent so far. So I'm watching the safety room. But what I'm really watching for is Grant Delpit. I'm not sure if he's going to play in this game. Maybe not. That's what I think it's trending to. I don't want to jinx it and just call him out and say he's not playing. But this has been a tough story so far. Delpit missed all of last year after tearing his Achilles. This season comes into training camp ready to go, and a hamstring takes him down. Came back from the hamstring injury and re-aggravated it pretty much immediately. And that's tough. And everyone's rooting for Grant Delpit, the second-round guy out of LSU from the 2020 NFL Draft. Not sure what we'll see out of him. If we'll see anything, probably not, but I just want to keep him on your radar. That's what I'm doing here. Just keep an eye on him, see what he does. Now Ronnie Harrison, last year for the Jaguars, pretty dang good, don't you say so? And he comes over to this Cleveland defense that won 11 games compared to the Jaguars defense that lost a lot of games. I'm talking lost like 15. So Ronnie Harrison, he's been banged up with a hamstring injury. He's got the green light. Let's see if we see him in this final preseason matchup. But going back to Del Pitt, missed all of last season. I'm hoping I'm wrong, okay? And I hope I am. And I'm not even saying that it's for sure, but over-under time, okay? 6 games missed for Del Pitt this season. Over or under, I'm praying it's under, okay? I hope he's ready for week 1 against the Chiefs. I really do. He's got some time still. That's not until the second weekend in September, but I hope so. So hopefully under, but let me know what you think down in the comments. Next position group I'm keeping an eye on, it's the offensive line, because this is one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. So why not get yourself a little stoked for the regular season, because this is going to be a tough unit to penetrate all regular season long, mostly because you got a couple all-pros. I mean, look at the top 3 names up there: Teller, Treader, Bettino. I mean, just studs, okay, all around. You got Jack Conklin moved over to the right tackle spot. You got Jedrick Wills, a first-round pick from last year's draft, moved over to left tackle. And let's talk about Wills for a moment here, because last season, good, not great, is probably the report card for him. I think what really not hurt him, but he was in a loaded offensive line class. Tristan Wirfs, right, the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Bucks, really kind of stole the spotlight, but there are a lot of great offensive linemen. Wills, he'll be over at Baker Mayfield's blind side, so keep an eye on it for here, because he could be the future of that left side of the offensive line for the Cleveland Browns. Next group, and I'm keeping an eye on, it's the guys who pay the offensive line with some extra bling at the end of the year. It's the running backs, okay? The Browns have arguably the top 2 running back duo in the NFL, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I don't think there's anyone better. Maybe Raiders fans out there making an argument. I'm not listening to it, or the Saints fans. But this is a running back room that is just stacked right here. But what's not stacked is the RB3 spot. And this is where D'Ernest Johnson comes into play here. He's been the 3rd-string running back for the Browns the last 2 seasons. I think the Browns were hoping he'd make more of a jump. Now, of course, he doesn't get a ton of touches when you got Nick Chubb, who's just a carry machine, and Kareem Hunt, who does great out in open space. So Johnson fits in where he can. But the Browns did exercise their 6th-round pick on a flex guy in Demetric Felton. He could play running back, wide receiver. He is in contention to steal that 3rd running back spot, okay? And here's the fun thing about Felton. He's a gadget guy. He can play wide receiver, which he did in college over at UCLA. He can line up in the backfield. And so what he does is he gives this Browns front office options. So when Cleveland looks to trim down their roster to 53 players, they can check 2 boxes with Felton. Really 3: special teams, wide receiver, and running back. So keep an eye on him in the final preseason matchup against the Atlanta Falcons.